Hi everyone. Today I'm going to make onion pesto. Onion top pesto actually. Yesterday and today I went out and cut off all my onion plants till about 6 inches, mainly so it encourages the bulb of the plant to grow bigger, but also I can do many things with the onion tops. I'm going to do two things with them today. I'm going to make the pesto, and I'm also going to freeze some of the tops. I'm going to chop them up, I'm going to flash freeze them and put them in the freezer, and throughout the winter we can use them as onions or whatever. My husband loves to make omelets. He loves green onion in his omelets, so we're going to do that. As you can see, I have lots and lots and lots. This bag was picked yesterday. I kept it in the fridge. This was picked this morning. I'm going to show you how I picked it this morning, and then I'll bring you right back. I came out yesterday and I did about half of the onion tops, but it was so hot, so now I'm going to finish up the rest. And I cut them till about there's, I don't know, 6 inches from the ground. And then it's going to help the bulb get bigger without growing all these stems. And then I'm going to put the stems to good use. But I'll probably have to do this at least 2 more times before the onions are ready to harvest. And by the time I finish doing this, I'll have had enough of the heat already. All right, so I washed all of these ones and I dried them off as best I could because I don't want them really wet. And I apologize if you can hear my husband cutting the grass in the background. I asked him not to do it, not because I'm videoing, but because it's stinking hot outside. It is so hot outside all week. I think we're in our 6th or 7th day of weather for us up to 43 degrees Celsius, which is about 109 Fahrenheit, I think, which is really, really hot for us. We usually get a couple of weeks in the summer that are quite hot, but not nearly as hot as this. It's unbearable. That's why I even picked the onions in 2 different times, because I can't deal with the heat. I'm kind of like the Wicked Witch of the West. I melt. I just, not so much the heat, it's the humidity. I just can't stand it. So we've both been going out in little bits, mainly my husband, making sure the animals have fresh water almost on an hourly basis. And the ride on lawnmower was at the garage, so now the grass is quite long, so he wants to get on top of that, but oh, I don't know how he's lasting out there. Anyway, back to the recipe. So what I need is 6 cups of onion tops. So I'm just rough chopping them because everything's going to go into the food processor, and I literally have enough onions here. I still have the basket full behind me. I have enough probably to do 10 times this recipe, but I'm going to do it in small batches and see how much I can get. I'm not fond of onion pesto. I mainly do it for my husband and for a good friend of mine. They like it. I like pesto, I'm just not fond of onions. I used to love onions, and then when I got fibromyalgia, there are certain foods now that just, almost the smell of it makes me sick. I don't know why. I can eat them in things like a spaghetti sauce when it's already cooked and blended with different foods, but to eat an onion like this in this form, oh. Anyway, so we need 6 cups, and I'm going to kind of pack it down. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of places are feeling this heat effect too. I really don't watch the news much because I never find there's anything really nice to hear or see. But I bet you there's other places that are suffering in the heat just like we are. We have central air, but even that can barely keep up with it. It's like every time you open the door, you're letting in a blast of the humidity and the heat. Just a little bit more. And I've barely made a dent in the pile. So I'll probably do another batch of pesto. And this doesn't have to be canned or anything. When I make it, I put it in the small jelly jars and I freeze it because we don't go through it that quickly. He'll use it like as a pizza topping on a hamburger. So for him just eating it alone, I just put it in the really small jars and then we just take it out a little jar at a time. All right, that should be it. So I'm gonna leave that alone for a minute and I'll get these out of the way and I'll be right back. All right, it's about to get noisy in here. So I'm only doing half the green onions right now. I'll add the rest of them. This barely made a dent in how many I cut. I think we'll be having pesto for years. And I'm also going to add in my lemon zest and my walnuts. And a tablespoon of lemon juice, but I'm just going to use the lemon from the lemon I cut up, minus the seeds. Maybe just a pinch more. They weren't the juiciest of lemons. Just a splash. And we also need 3/4 of a cup of Parmesan cheese. Put the lid back on. Okay, now what I'm going to do, it's just about all mixed together. I'm going to slowly drizzle in 3/4 of a cup of olive oil and the salt and pepper. So about a teaspoon of salt. I'm using sea salt. And about half a teaspoon of pepper. put the lid back on. Get my oil. I'm using extra virgin olive oil. You want to use a good oil for this. I'm going to have to do this left-handed. Okay, so I'm going to let it mix while I slowly add in the oil. I spilt a bit, so I'm going to add another tablespoon. And I just want to scrape the sides down a bit too, just to make sure it's all getting mixed in. Despite my aversion to onion, it does smell good. Just let it mix for a second or two. And I think we're good. I'll get a spoon so you can see it better. It's never going to be smooth. It's going to be a bit like granular, but it's a beautiful consistency for spreading or, you know, putting on a pizza or to top tacos with, or like a hamburger. It's the perfect consistency. It's not dry and it's not wet. So I'll clean up my mess because I always make a mess, and then I'm going to get it into jars. See you in a bit. And there we go. So now I'll just fill up my little jars. I'm gonna leave a good 1/2 inch of headspace. Like I said, it's not for canning, but it's gonna go in the freezer and I have to allow for expansion. Whoa. So right up to like the first ring, right up to here, I put it. I push it right down so there's no like air pockets, and I can fill the jar as much as I can. So it's just another way to use something in the garden that you maybe not would either throw in your compost or throw away. Getting the maximum out of my onions. And I'll probably do another batch of this eventually. And some of it will turn into, like I said, I'll flash freeze it and then put it in freezer bags for the winter time. And my onions will need to be cut at least one more time before they're fully grown. And we also like cut it now, like to put in our salads and stuff. Not my salad, but I always cut it separate for my husband's salad. And here you go, 7 jars of beautiful, tasty pesto. And I didn't have to go out and buy any of the ingredients. It's something that I always keep on hand. I always have lemons in the house, always walnuts for baking and stuff. I generally have the Parmesan cheese for when we have like pasta and Italian dishes. Olive oil, obviously, salt and pepper. So it's nothing I had to go out and buy extra to make this recipe. And it was using something I had in the garden as a second option, being able to use the onion tops. So it's delicious apparently, because I don't eat it, but I know my husband Frank and my friend will enjoy this very much. I was happy to make it, and without having to stop and start filming, it literally takes 5 minutes to make. It's so easy. So I hope you give it a try. What would you use pesto on? I'm not very imaginative. I'm thinking pizza, hamburgers, tacos. I don't know what else you would use it on, because I don't eat it. But if you can think of something else, let me know. So thank you so much for spending time with me today in my kitchen, because it's just so hot outside. I'm not going anywhere else. And until we're together again, take care.